Hello, hello again. Not Bradley Stalder, but here I am. My name is Tyler, and I got, as you can tell by this very detailed overlay we got here, hopping in on Player Profiler today. I'm gonna be here every Monday, and today we're gonna be doing our best bets for the NFL draft, best player prop bets. We saw Jason do it on Wake and Take this morning, and I'm gonna do it tonight. The nightcap, the second act, the better act, if you will. Just kidding. But that all comes up right after this. All right, and we are live. Gonna talk some best bets for the NFL draft, and something that I really love doing. I did this last year. Hit some good ones, like Bijan to Atlanta was one that I hit. I remember that for sure. Will Levis was one that threw me for a loop last year. All the odds said Will Levis was going to be a top 5 pick, top 4 pick. He was going to go to the Colts. And I thought I was right on the money. And turns out I was not. I was not right on the money. But what can you do? We're going to come back better, stronger this year. A lot of bets here. I try to keep it as close as, close to that plus 100, minus 100, So I'm not just giving you like a Caleb Williams, first overall pick. I would throw a good chunk of change. You know what I mean? Like I should probably full disclosure. I've already put money on all these picks, so I'm not just giving you picks and then you can decide whether to bet on that or not. I bet on these picks, so hopefully that raises your confidence level in me just a tad, because I like a lot of these picks, and especially like some high odds ones. I don't know. Can I have some fun? But let's go to the first one I have on the list. The first one I have that I really liked was over half a safety taken in the first round. Current odds on that are plus 450. Now, I feel like it's good value here. Tyler Nubin and Javon Bullard are the names to watch here. Nubin is from the University of Minnesota. Same college as Antoine Winfield. May play a part, into some teams' draft rooms. Maybe not, maybe, But Antoine Winfield was a name that fell to the second round when he was in the draft, and a lot of people thought he should have gone in the first. So maybe teams don't make the same mistake this time around. I would even argue Nubin a slightly better prospect than Winfield coming out. Like Nubin was I live in Minnesota. I'm a huge Gophers fan. Like I watched a lot of Tyler Nubin. He's the number 1 ranked safety on a lot of people's board for PFF. He is their 25th overall player. And if you do the math, 25th falls within the 32 teams that are in the NFL. So PFF likes him. And I just think, like I said, plus 450 odds, like it's not projected to happen, but this is the NFL draft. Anything can happen in the NFL draft. So that's my first take. And then maybe we see Bullard. Bullard is PFF's 48th ranked player in this draft. So I just feel like it's too good a value to pass up on here. A name I'm thinking of is Lewis Seen, was a safety from Georgia, not projected to go in the first round, but kind of Minnesota traded back, then took Seen in the first near the end. So I feel like this is good value here. Just one safety to come off the board, and that's plus 450. So that's my first bet. Really like that one. I think that's gonna be one where if you're looking for higher odds, that's probably plus 450 is no joke. Like that's not projected to happen, but I sneaky like it. Next one we're gonna do is one that I also really like. It is over 6.5 receivers taken in the first round at plus money, plus 145. Now, if we just do the math here, right, we kind of know who the players are, who the receivers are that are going to go in the first. Let's do the math. Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze, Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas, A.D. Mitchell. Now, that's 5, and the line's at 6.5. So we just need one more guy to kind of get – oh, that's 6. Sorry. That's 6. I can't count. Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Worthy, Thomas, A.D. Mitchell. That's 6. So that's 6. I was like, I knew it's not 5. It's 6. That's 6 names that are pretty much locks to go in the first round. And some people may find me on A.D. Mitchell, but on the book that I'm on, he's minus 600 to go in the first. And Schefter actually just came out today and said he thinks he goes a lot higher than people are projecting him to go. So I think we have 6 in the first round locked up, guaranteed. We just need to find one more. Now, names that could break into the first round: McConkey, Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall. That's 5 names who, I think all those guys have shots to get into the first round. So just one of those 5 to sneak in, maybe pick 32, maybe pick 30, something like that. I really like this bet, plus 145. I would, if I was an odds maker, I would say this would be like a favorite bet for me. I really like 6.5 receivers hitting the over on that. I think we get at least 7 in the first round. So, like I said, one of those guys is sneak in the background, I think, and we're going to get it at plus money. So that's the second bet I got for y'all. Third one, I didn't even believe this line when I originally saw it. I didn't believe it, but it's Bo Nix draft position, where he gets drafted. The line is currently at 32.5. So it's basically saying, is he going to be a first round pick or is he not? I don't think he is. Like, if all signs are pointing that he's not going to be a first round pick, I think Will Levis was a much more, I would say, touted prospect, a guy that people were, were taking some shots on, at least from the pre-draft process, right? Will Levis was a name that we heard significantly. We even had that Reddit thing last year, whereas Will Levis is actually going 101 to Carolina or whatever that was, but obviously that didn't happen. Falls to the second round. But that being said, I think Will Levis was a much more polished and just a prospect that people were excited about in terms of NFL circles. I don't think Bo Nix is that guy. I don't think he's looked at in that same Levis light that we saw last year. So just looking at that, the juice on this is minus 160, so it's not great. It's still, kind of, I try to keep it like 175 to lower if I'm doing something like that, because anyone can just give you like a minus 400 line, right? But minus 160 is decent money. Maybe parlay it with another odds favorite, try and make even money on that, or you can just put, if you're just trying to get a win, I would say like this feels like a lock almost. I don't want to use the term lock all the time, but this feels like something. I would be shocked if Bo Nix was a first round pick. Like, he struggled at the pro day. They wanted to see what he looked like outside of that Oregon system, and it just wasn't happening for him. Just was not happening. So I think Bo Nix falls out of the second round. We make some money, minus 160. So just to recap real quick, we got Tyler Nubin, or not Tyler Nubin, but over half a safety taken in the first round at plus 450, which would hopefully be Tyler Nubin. We have over 6.5 receivers in the first at plus 145. And we have Bo Nix draft position over 32.5, basically betting on him to be a second round pick. And while we're talking about rookies, let's hear about the rookie guy.
It is NFL draft season and the wait is over. The Player Profiler Rookie Guide is available. It's live on the site now. Right there in the nav bar, click on the 2024 Rookie Guide to download it. It's so comprehensive. We're ranking and writing up more players than anybody. And this year, we're providing athleticism scores. We're doubling the number of advanced stats on each player profile. And guess who's back? Cody Carpentier. But it's not just him. It's Theo. It's Matty Kiwoom. It's John Lobb. And the Undroppables, all coming together to provide their composite rankings. And this year we're adding Superflex Tight End Premium, because that's now become such a popular format. So get those composite ranks, get the write-ups, the comps, the stats and metrics you want. If you already have Dynasty Lux, you already have it. But if you don't, it's right there in the nav bar on playerprofiler.com. It's $20. It's not the first. It's not the most expensive, but it is the best.
Go get the rookie guide, baby. Go get the rookie guide. I wrote up a couple players on there. Wrote up Blake Corum. Wrote up, who else? Jamari Thrash, and wrote up Jalen McMillan. Jalen McMillan, a guy that I like. Probably not going to sneak in the first round to help our bet, but guy I like if you're drafting an underdog, drafting in rookie drafts after the NFL draft. I really like Jalen McMillan. I think he's going to be I like him better than Jalen Polk, which I think is kind of a hot take. Maybe not. Maybe. Guess we'll find out next year. But speaking of Blake Corum, next pick we got here, team to draft Blake Corum. Now, this isn't really any analysis here. It's the how would you say it? It's low tier. It's low hanging fruit. That's the word I'm looking for. Low hanging fruit right here. Team to draft Blake Corum, Los Angeles Chargers. It just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense in my mind. The Jim Harbaugh loves Blake Corum. Now he's with the Chargers, and they don't really have a running back. Yes, they have Gus Edwards, but he's really not. I don't think he's all that good. And they need another running back. Like, they're going to draft somebody. They're going to draft a running back. I will bet my house on it. They're going to draft a running back. It's just a matter of who. And why not take the guy that you coached for his entire career while he's in Michigan, won you a national championship, won you the OT game against Alabama? Like, it just makes too much sense. It's the most favored odds, but you're getting that plus 170. So, maybe just throw like $10 on that, because I would feel like a fool if I didn't at least put some money on it, because it just makes too much sense. All the It would be a completely different story if the Chargers still had Eckler and then they brought in Gus Edwards, right? They don't. They just have Gus Edwards, and I think Blake Corum's skill set is a lot bigger than people are giving him credit for. I think we've gone over the receiving profile before, I think on the last stream, but I just think Blake Corum to the Chargers makes too much sense. So that's my next pick. And then this next one, LSU wide receiver, not Malik Neighbors. We'll actually get to him later. But Brian Thomas Jr. over 16 and a half draft position. So he's going to be, I think he's going to be taken with pick 17 or later. Minus 165. So again, not the greatest odds, but I just don't see him going that high. I know he's kind of being drafted like that, an underdog. I know he had a great year at LSU, but he was playing opposite Malik Neighbors, just their deep threat guy. He didn't really flash a whole bunch of, I would guess, skills you want to see from your ex receiver. Maybe being comped like just a fast, athletic guy, right? There's a ton of those. You can kind of find those on trees, but I just think Brian Thomas, he's going to fall a little bit because he didn't flash as many traits as like a pure wide receiver as you'd want to see. So I just think he falls a little bit. And you just look at the teams who are picking, right? Like Brian Thomas Jr., we can just say this with certainty. He's not going to be a top 10 pick, right? So if we just agree that Brian Thomas isn't going to be a top 10 pick, here are the teams picking from 11 to 16. So one of these teams, we need to pretty much pick him for us to hit our bet. Yeah, trade ups, trade downs can skew everything. But if we're just looking at who's on the clock with picks 11 and 16, let's just run through the teams, right? Minnesota, they're not drafting a receiver. They drafted one last year. They're good at receiver. They're not drafting one. Yeah, they might trade up, someone, whatever. But we're just going off what we know right now. Minnesota not taking a receiver. Denver could take a receiver. They're trying to get in that quarterback market as well. Definitely a team that possibly could, but I just don't see Brian Thomas going to. It just doesn't feel like I can't see Brian Thomas in Denver. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Just kind of a vibe thing. Can't see it. Vegas, next team. They're kind of good at receiver as well. They have Jacoby. They have Devontae Adams. Yeah, maybe they want to get a little bit younger, but I think they also have there's some steam coming out today that they might take Penix with their first pick at what would that be? 13. So that's another one. I'm not really sold on it. New Orleans, maybe. Like I said, I don't. They took a receiver early too. A couple years ago, they traded up to get Olave. They didn't even have a first last year for Chris Olave. They don't feel like a Brian Thomas team either. Yeah, LSU, Louisiana kind of connections there, but I don't. I think that would be like the most probable team of the teams we've gone through so far. Indianapolis, they're in the market for a receiver, but I think Xavier Worthy kind of fits what they'd want to do a little bit more. I don't know about Brian Thomas, and then Seattle not taking a receiver. So if we look at just the couple teams that we listed out here, Indy and New Orleans feel like the only teams that could really take him, and they could obviously go in 18 million other directions as well. So I just don't really like two out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams are the teams that I think could actually take them. I think that's good odds. You're getting at minus 165, and there's some steam that Worthy's getting pumped up, Mitchell's getting pumped up. I think Brian Thomas is just one of those guys that he doesn't scream top 15, top 16 wide receiver to me. So over on that draft position, 16.5 for Brian Thomas at minus 165. Again, not greatest odds, but what can you do? Now, this one is surprisingly good odds. I could not believe it when this came across my desk. Rome Odunze under 8.5 draft position at minus 110. Like, this is pretty much a pick 'em almost. Like I said, a lot better odds than I thought. I'd be shocked if he was a top 5 pick, but then you look at the teams who are kind of between 5 and 8. So, or 6 and 8, excuse me. So Giants desperately, and I mean desperately, need a playmaker. They need a playmaker at receiver, especially if Darren Waller retires. They have Wan'Dale Robinson, and that's literally it. They have nobody else. Nobody in the running back room. Devin Singletary, yeah, but he's not a playmaker, I would say. He's a good running back, but he's not going to change your offense. And nobody else on that team is really going to change the offense either. So Giants are 100% a place that he could go to. And some people may say, what about, the Giants could draft an O-lineman? Daniel Jones getting killed last year. They extended their O-lineman. Andrew Thomas was somebody they extended, I think, last year or the year before. They're good at left tackle. They still have Evan Neal at right tackle. I don't know if they would move on from him, maybe move him to guard. I'm not really sure about that, but it just doesn't feel like a tackle pick. They've drafted tackles. They've done it a couple times in the past 3, 4, 5 years, right? When's the last time they took a receiver OBJ. I think that's the last time they took a first-round wide receiver. I guess maybe Kadarius Toney. Was he round 2? No, I think Kadarius Toney was round 1, but different regime. Kind of, that doesn't count. That regime was they had a lot bigger problems than that. So I think Odunze is a definitely in play at 6. And even if he doesn't go at 6, Tennessee probably not going to go there. But then we get to Atlanta. Atlanta could draft Odunze. Like, I think they could. They have Drake London, they have Pitts, now they have Mooney, but I think they could make the case, if they truly want to go best player available, which is what they've done kind of in the past. I think they could do that. But I think, and again, I'm a diehard Falcons fan, so this is kind of what I'm reading. I think they trade out. I think they trade out for a team like the Colts who want to come up and take a receiver. I think a team trade, this is a prediction right now on April 15th. I think the Falcons trade out of 8. If the Giants do not take Rome Odunze and he's still there at 8, I think Atlanta moves back. A team comes up and takes Rome Odunze at number 8. That's my prediction, and that's why I love this pick. It's -110. It's really good odds. I don't see how you couldn't throw it. Not financial advice, but this was one that I threw a more than one unit on. I really like this Rome Odunze under 8.5 draft position. So let's get to our next couple of ones here. And these ones they're all plus money, just stuff that maybe is not projected to happen, but I like the odds of where they're at. So the next one is Terrion Arnold, first corner off the board at +175. There's always been this thing with NFL teams. I think scheme matters. I think where you play matters. Like, who's the last Alabama corner to not be good in the league? Like, you can even make, like, you could say Travion Diggs, right? But I don't know. He's been pretty good. He got a second contract. Like, it just feels like Alabama pumps these guys out. Nick Saban, apparently the DB whisperer. So I really like Alabama corner being the first corner off the board. And plus, Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo didn't play against the best competition. Yes, I know he killed it at the Senior Bowl, but these NFL teams, like that one year where everybody loves Sauce Gardner, right? Everybody loves Sauce, and then Derek Stingley Jr. comes out of nowhere, and he's the first corner off the board. So I think Terrion Arnold has some +175 is good odds for me to at least take that chance. He's a guy who's been getting a lot of hype too. A guy who visited with the Falcons could go at 8, and if that's the pick, then watch out. I think Terrion Arnold, first corner off the board at +175. That's my next best bet. Really good odds on that. Second one, Latu. First defensive player drafted. So basically, I'm projecting him to kind of just go above Dallas Turner. Now, Dallas Turner is a guy who's looked at. He's very raw, right? Very raw, freak athlete, though. We saw him perform at the combine, really fast 40, unbelievable vertical jump. But Latu, like, you just look at what he did at the Senior Bowl, unbelievable Senior Bowl, unbelievable. I think he's just more of a polished pass rusher than Dallas Turner is right now, just a more polished player in general. So his odds are +220 to be the first defensive player drafted. I think we could see him come off the board a lot earlier than people expected. +220, really good odds on that. I think he's the best edge in this class. At least that's the way I see it. So to get him at +220 here, I like that bet a lot. And then this one, I couldn't believe we got plus money on this. Trey Benson, first running back off the board at +140. +140 to be the first running back off the board. Now, I think the only other guy he may be competing with would be Jonathan Brooks, maybe Blake Corum, but it feels like it's going to be Jonathan Brooks or Trey Benson. And Trey Benson, he's not coming off an ACL tear, which I think will, it'll give pause to some teams a little bit. So I really like Trey Benson coming off the board first. I just think he has more of those upside traits than I think Jonathan Brooks may have. Home run hitter, really, really good combine. I think that raises stock a lot. But Trey Benson +140 to be the first running back off the board. Next one. Now, this is a couple Neighbors ones right here. I have Neighbors as my wide receiver 1, which is part of the reason I'm betting on him to be the first wide receiver drafted at +270. Really good odds for, I think the NFL sees this a lot differently than we do as the fantasy community, right? I think the NFL, it sounds like Scheffner or Pelissero, Rappaport, all those guys, they've reported that Malik Neighbors, a lot of teams have Malik Neighbors above Marvin Harrison on their draft board. We don't, like, we really, it's not like we've heard, like, oh yeah, the Cardinals are just going to for sure draft Marvin Harrison, or the Chargers are just going to for sure draft Marvin Harrison. Like, what if one of those teams just genuinely has Malik Neighbors on their draft board. Like, yes, we've seen the mocks because everyone loves Marvin Harrison so much, but I don't think there's any actual inside reporting that's going on where like, oh yeah, the Chargers really love Marvin Harrison or the Cardinals really love Marvin Harrison, right? I think one of those teams could legitimately have Malik Neighbors higher on their board. I don't think it's crazy to say. So plus 270 to be the first receiver off the board, I'm willing to take that bet. And then Neighbors, the second part of this bet, Neighbors to be a top 5 pick plus 157. Let's say Marvin Harrison does come off the board first, right? Maybe it goes Caleb, Daniels, and then let's say Drake May at 3, and then maybe it's Marvin Harrison, and then Malik Neighbors to the Chargers at 5. If Malik is there at 5 and the Chargers are on the clock, I don't see a scenario where he falls any farther, right? Like the Chargers need a wide receiver, maybe the team trades up. I don't see Neighbors falling outside the top 5. If Neighbors goes to the Giants at 6, like what a steal for them. Probably ruins our whole kind of process where we think a Doomsday could be 6, but you know what I mean? I just really like Malik Neighbors. I think NFL teams view him in the same regard, if not higher than Marvin Harrison. So I think it's going to be truly a tough pick where people are going to steal his upside traits. Like that's why Jalen Waddle went over Devontae Smith in that 2020 draft, right? 2020. Like it's the same kind of thinking there where, yeah, Jalen Waddle, like he didn't even have half the season Devontae Smith had that last year at Alabama. Devontae Smith wins the Heisman, but these NFL like draft guys, they don't care about production in college. Like they do, but if you possess those, those high upside, like elite traits, that's what they're chasing after. They'll coach you up on everything else later. So that's why I really like Neighbors, and I think he just has more of those upside traits that Marvin Harrison Jr. does not have. So next, this is my last pick here, and again, one of my favorites. Couldn't believe the odds we got on it. Brock Bowers, top 10 pick, to be a top 10 pick, minus 115. So pretty much, like you just bend the spread, right, on any game. So minus 115. And it just comes down to, I don't think he gets past the Jets, right? Jets is kind of where he's being mocked. An obvious need there for another pass catcher in New York. Bowers is looked at as a generational tight end. I think he took a visit there as well. I just don't see Bowers falling past 10. I don't see it. This was before free agency. The Jets were mocked, take a tackle, be in that tackle market. They took care of that in free agency, signing a couple names. So I just don't see, like, they took care of the O-line. And I think maybe they just took care of the O-line so they could go out and get the best weapon. If Neighbors, Harrison, and Adunze are all gone and Bowers is the next guy up, I think Bowers is the pick there at 10. I don't think he gets past 10. I love the odds at minus 115. And that's my last pick for you guys. Again, let's recap it real fast. We got over half a safety taken in the first round at plus 450. Unbelievable odds. Over 6.5 receivers taken in the first round at plus 145. Bo Nix to be drafted outside of the first round at minus 160. Brian Thomas Jr. over 16.5 where he's going to get drafted, draft position. Rome Odunze under 8.5 draft position, minus 110. And then we got Terrion Arnold, first corner off the board, plus 175. Latu, first defensive player to be drafted at plus 220. Trey Benson, first running back off the board at plus 140. Malik Neighbors, first receiver drafted, plus 270. And Neighbors to be a top 5 pick, plus 157. Brock Bowers, top 10 pick, minus 115. And to round it out, team to draft Blake Corum, Los Angeles Chargers at plus 170. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I'll be back next Monday. Who knows what we're going to talk about? A lot could happen in a week. Maybe we're talking about, a draft day trade or the week of the draft, because on Monday will be that the week the draft's going to be. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be down in Detroit, and maybe I'll see some of you guys there. Probably not, but who knows? Who knows? We'll see you guys next week and have a fantastic rest of your night.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.